Hello everybody, my name is Courtney Dasuke, and today we are going to be talking about my ketamine infusion treatment, round 3. So I started ketamine back at the end of January for my severe depression and my PTSD. So now I am 3 weeks in, and every week I've been updating you guys kind of how I've been feeling, what I've been experiencing, and the differences I've been noticing. So this week we're going to talk about the third treatment, kind of how it went down, how I felt during, and how I'm feeling after. So again, my name is Courtney Dasuke. I am 29 years old. I am from Ontario, Canada, and we're doing ketamine infusion treatment. So this week was interesting. Let's say interesting. I actually prepared myself even more. My second week was a little rough. I was very triggered. I was very overwhelmed. I'm getting these treatments done actually in the facility, in the hospital where my trauma happened, as I worked as a nurse. That's my little backstory there. So, I've been experiencing severe depression, agitation, anger, upset, like outbursts, intrusive thoughts, nightmares, like all of the things. And it has not been an easy ride. And you guys might think, Courtney, you seem pretty put together. You seem pretty bubbly and upbeat. Like, is it that bad? Yes. What I do is a way that I've learned to cope my whole life was to put on my fake face. I called it my fake happy Courtney face. Put on your fake happy Courtney face, do your makeup, do your hair, and pretend everything is okay. You can only get so far pretending everything's okay for so long. So yes, I seem peppy. Yes, I seem bubbly, but that's also the persona that I have for myself. That's who I was before my trauma. I was happy. I was peppy. I was bubbly. But I've noticed over time and over the years, as I've lost friends because of this, I've lost, my family doesn't necessarily always understand some of them. And it's been really hard. So I try to maintain the person who I was, but inside it's like doom and gloom and a horrific memory. And so over this time, guys, I have done, I'm actually still in psychotherapy. I've done neurofeedback. I've done so many different things. Name all the medications I've been on. Like, I have tried everything. And so ketamine so far, these first 3 infusions, I have to say has been making a little bit of a difference. So let's talk about what happened this week. So I went in, they have to do a COVID test beforehand. So I was negative, obviously. Get all set up, get the IV started. So I was smart this week. I didn't want to be agitated, so I made sure I had both headphones in, but I actually rearranged my playlist. You guys know I listen to Taylor Swift. So I rearranged the playlist so that I could kind of ease into the ketamine, ease through the treatment, and then come out through, the end. And so my playlist I set up was bomb. It was fire. Like, I actually felt great. Easing into the ketamine, the music was just the perfect tempo, the perfect beat, the perfect ambiance. So during the ketamine this week, I was actually thinking about love and family and how hard it's been over these years, struggling with depression and isolating myself and, people not necessarily understanding what I've been through. So in my head during this treatment, because I have my sleep mask on, you're laying down, I was very heavy, my muscles were very relaxed. But in my head, I was like, Courtney, like, you are loved. And these are things I tell myself sometimes that I'm not. People don't love you. No one understands. Like, they don't love you as much as they used to because you've changed. But this week I was like, they love you. Your mom and dad love you. They did the best to their ability to raise you, to take care of you. And although their love might feel different than what you want or what you expect, they love you. You are loved. They love you unconditionally. I'm gonna get emotional. But in my head, because of the depression sometimes and the anxiety, it's like, maybe they don't love me as much because I'm different, or maybe they don't love me as much because I have a lot of negative thoughts, or maybe they think I should just get over it, but that's something I just can't get over. And, those are just things, some of the thoughts I have in my head. But it was like there was this voice in my head telling me, like, you are loved, you are safe, your parents love you. You know, my aunt's like my other mom, she, like, your aunt loves you. And I started thinking about, like, my cousins and stuff, and I'm like, you know, I haven't seen them in so long, and it's because I've held myself back, and I've been afraid of judgment and ridicule, and I've been afraid, like, to go see people because they'll be like, hey, Courtney, like, what's wrong? How's things been? What have you been up to? And it's so hard to just be like, oh, I've been depressed laying in bed for the last 3 or 4 years. No one wants to hear that. So, you know, I thought about that, and I'm like, they still love you, just maybe they don't understand. And so that was sort of like my aha moments during the ketamine was, you are loved, and it might not be the love you think you deserve or the love you so desperately want, but you are loved by people in their own way. And, you know, I thought about friends that I've lost, and I thought about friends that I wish I was closer to, or who I wish, you know, would put more of an effort in sometimes. But in my head, I'm like, you know what? We all have our own lives. Like, it's different now, and that's okay. And then I started thinking about Jesse, who's my fiance, of course. And I'm like, you know, he's my best friend in the whole world. He's been the most supportive through this treatment, through the years of therapy. He's always been by my side. He's always been the one there. And like, you're like, you know what? That is love. You are loved. And so that's kind of my revelation for this week. It was funny because last week was about a job and work and the hospital and the trauma. The week before was just like, oh, I feel great. Taylor Swift. I love that. But I kind of had those moments too this week. You know, I had a few flash moments of where I was like, what am I going to do with my life? Like, what does my future hold? Like, it's scary to think about when you don't know. And, you know, I was like, I can't think about that right now. I really have to focus on feeling better, feeling less depressed, getting sleep, starting to build a routine for myself, working through the trauma. Because if I don't face that shit head on, you know, it's not going to get better. So, you know, I thought about that, and then obviously I was like, ooh, my playlist is jamming. Like, ooh, I love Taylor Swift. And of course I thought about my dogs and all of that. And I had that hope again of, what if I could feel happiness again? What if I could experience joy? What if I could go back into the world? What if I could, you know, maybe someday go join a volleyball league, a rec volleyball league for fun? Or like, what if I could, you know, the possibilities are endless. But sometimes the PTSD and the anxiety and the depression hold us back. So, you know, it kind of gave me a little ounce of hope. And so anyways, I felt the ketamine coming out of my system. Like, I finished my treatment, and I felt like, I was saying to Jesse, I was like, I almost died this week. I didn't almost die, but it was a very weird experience. But anywho, I was coming under the ketamine, and I felt like this tickle in the back of my throat. Like, I'm a huge water drinker. Like, I drink a lot of water. I need it. But I had this tickle in the back of my throat. Like, I had to cough, and like I needed a drink of water. But, like, my body was still heavy. I still had my sleep mask on. And like, I was just trying to swallow to make it go away. And I was like, you know, trying to clear my throat. But that wasn't enough, and it made me want to cough. And I'm like, oh no, don't cough. Like, in my head, I'm like, COVID, don't cough. So stupid. But anyways, I ended up having to cough. So I like pulled my mask up and down. I was like, and I guess my blood pressure skyrocketed. Normally my blood pressure is like a 120-ish over 80-ish normal. And I guess it skyrocketed to like 175, 180 over 110, which is like insane for me. But ketamine is known to like increase your blood pressure, but like that was above the protocol level. So, you know, they like sat me up, and they're just like, is your head dizzy? Like, are you dizzy? Are you nauseous? Like, how do you feel? And I'm just like, I just need water. Like, I just need water. And I was like, and I need to cough, but I need water. And they're like, are you sure? Like, are you nauseous? We can get everything. Like, you know, and they're taking my blood pressure over and over. And as a nurse, it is so hard to be a patient. It is so freaking hard for me to be a patient, to be taken care of. I don't like attention. Like, I don't like that. And so, you know, I was like awake, and there's like 3 nurses around me. They're calling the doctor in. and they're just doing my blood pressure. So in my head, I mean, I have my nursing knowledge, right? And I'm like, oh, well, when you do your blood pressure, like you're not supposed to really move. You're not supposed to really cough, like all of that jazz. And so I was like, the blood pressure machine was going off and they're like, it's still really high. And I'm like, I don't want to cough, like the blood pressure cough. And they're like, cough, it's okay. And I'm like, oh, you know, it just goes against everything I learned. And so then I was coughing, of course, and like my blood pressure and heart rate went up and all of that jazz. But it was very overwhelming for me. It was kind of triggering, and it was really embarrassing at the same time. And like, I know it's nothing to be embarrassed about. It's out of my control. Like I can't control my blood pressure. Like it's just something that happened. But in my head, I was like, oh, I'm bad. I kept saying sorry. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like I'm being the annoying patient. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Because I don't want to be that patient. And in my head, I'm like, that's their job though. Their job is here to take care of you and help you. But in my head, I felt like I was bad. I was the one in the wrong. It was my fault that this was happening. And I know that's just the depression and the anxiety and the intrusive thoughts. But like, it was overwhelming. And so the doctor came in, he's like, how you doing? And I'm like, I just needed water, dude. Like, I was thirsty. And he's like, no, that's cool. And, you know, they have protocols, right? So if your blood pressure goes above a certain amount, they'll stop the ketamine, let your blood pressure level out, and then they'll restart it. But I actually finished it, which was great. So, I mean, they got me water eventually. I drank it and chugged it. It felt fantastic. I was good, normal, good to go. So yeah, that was that experience. And I was like, oh gosh. And I was really frustrated with myself, I think, because I was in such a good place with the ketamine. Like I was feeling good. I had the good emotions and the good feelings, and to come out of it that quickly because I had to cough or needed water or whatever, it was just very frustrating. So anyways, everything was fine. Obviously I was okay. We did the saline infusion, went home. But it was interesting because the one nurse who was doing my infusion and stuff, again, it was one of my past coworkers. So we ended up talking a little bit about, because I used to work in that hospital in the psych unit, and we're talking about how hard it is there and how difficult it is and how different it is and how dangerous it is. And I mean, that increased my blood pressure a little bit. But it sort of just made me realize that, you know, I've made the right decision to step away from mental health nursing, to focus on me and my healing, because I can't take care of other people. I can, but like I can't take care of other people who are also struggling as much as I am. I need to take care of myself first. And, you know, it kind of helped me realize that. And anyways, we're talking about that. And then at the end, I was saying, like, you know, I do miss my job sometimes. Like, I miss my long-term patients. I really loved them. Like, I loved them. They were like family, and I treated them like family. And the nurse said, you know, the one thing, Courtney, I remember working with you, she's like, is that you were the most caring, compassionate human on that unit in this psych profession. She's like, you genuinely gave your heart and your soul to these people. You loved them. You cared about them. She's like, you always put people first. You always put other people first because you loved, because you cared. And like, obviously I started to tear up and cry a little bit because that meant so much. And, you know, to hear that from someone else and to listen to that, it was just, I was very appreciative and it was very kind. And she's like, you need to have that same compassion that you have for other people for yourself. Like what happened this week with your heart rate raising and the blood pressure raising, that's not your fault. You can't control that. But you need to be compassionate with yourself. You did well. You had your treatment, you know, you had good feelings. Love yourself a little more, and be kind to yourself. And so that was good. I mean, everything honestly went well. I have been noticing a difference. I'm not feeling as dark and heavy. I notice I'm laughing a little more. I'm still having significant nightmares. I still feel down some days. I had a couple down days this week. I spent one day in bed, which maybe I just needed a rest. I don't know. But overall, there's a little bit of an uprise. I'm not going to say I'm ecstatic happy. I'm not going to say, oh my gosh, my whole world has changed. But I don't feel as dark and as heavy as I did like 2 months ago. So I think that's an improvement. I think that's a step in the right direction. I have another infusion treatment on Tuesday, and then I have 2 more after that spaced out over 4 weeks. So that is what we're going to do. We're going to continue on. And that was my experience for week 3. Anyways, guys, I hope this information honestly is helpful. Or if someone watches this and they're like, hey, I could do ketamine treatment. You know, I struggle with depression and PTSD. The reason why I'm doing these videos, honestly, is to bring awareness. As a previous mental health nurse, obviously awareness is everything. I've never knew anyone in my whole life who had PTSD, you know? And now I'm thankful that I can share my story. I can share my experiences and share this treatment that I feel like is making an impact and a difference. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Stay tuned for next week. We will have infusion number 4, and I will give you guys another update. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.